Yo, what's going on? So, I've been getting a lot of comments on my streams and my videos asking about potential Thor buffs that I'd want to see leading into Season 2.5, if any buffs at all. I know a lot of players have a lot of mixed opinions on Thor, and without a doubt, I can straight up see where they come from. I think in lower ranks, he's a dominating, disgusting tank, and in the higher ranks, you have a lot harder of a time pulling off the things that you used to be able to pull off in the lower ranks. Just as players get better with their aim and more consistent on their ability knowledge, Thor becomes a lot weaker. I've stated this from the beginning of Season 2 though. I feel like Thor is indeed a solid A tier tank kit-wise. He's an absolute monster brawler, and especially in this meta, dealing with Reed and Wolverine, Iron Fist, even Groot, a lot of the brawling characters, Thor just kind of eats him up, and especially when the flyers are out of the game, Thor feels extremely comfortable. If you've been to my streams, then you definitely heard this take already before, and you can just skip ahead. I have the entire video timestamped. However, for anyone who hasn't heard my biggest issues with Thor, he's simply just homeless. When I say homeless, a lot of people trying to use the argument that, oh, Captain America has no strong team up, or Groot has no strong team up, and Penny Parker, I'm just happy to not be a Penny Parker main, and all I'm gonna say. They have their bonus HP from their team ups, and they've avoided nerfs or have been buffed since Season 0. Unlike the other Vanguards, Strange and Mag, though they've needed the nerfs they got, they still were hit with nerfs, and those are the main tanks you can kind of stand by the entire time. So with Groot being untouched and those two being hit, it just comes down to one character being inevitably better. Then that leaves Thor, a character who's basically forced into an identity of 1v9ing, otherwise he feels completely worthless. Think about what makes a character meta. Playing a character who has the most impact while doing the least amount. Whether that's from base numbers overpowering their counterpart, or in Marvel Rivals' case, team-ups that just exist in the game with two characters being simply better than others together. I literally get more value hands down by simply locking in Emma and standing in base over Thor because of her team-up. It works really well with two super strong characters right now, Psylocke and Magneto. Then you have characters like Spider-Man and Venom, or Namor and Iron Man. And apart from their team-up value, just look at their identities as characters. Cap and Venom's main job is to get in and stall. They don't have to get kills or do a bunch of damage. They can just be really annoying. And hey, if you stun Captain America, what's gonna happen? He's gonna jump in and then jump out. He's got so much HP, so much mobility, he'll be fine. Mag, Groot, Emma, they all hold the front line extremely well. That's just their job. They're frontliners. But Thor's job can be a multitude of things, and he does them all very mediocre. Is he a brawler? Is he a staller? Is he a diver? Yo guys, don't use hammer throw, by the way. Exactly. Nobody knows. But that's what makes all of us play Thor though. But that doesn't make it any more truthful that Thor is stuck in a limbo state at being mediocre at everything. And the amount of work you have to put into him for the value to equal another tank like Emma or Thing is diabolical. It's the equivalent to Black Panther versus a Hela. The amount of work you have to do to put into a Black Panther by using time to set up a flank, landing all of your abilities, dodging CC, being in melee form of all these people, hopefully not getting knocked up, knocked back, versus a Hela who can just fly to a flank, contest somebody, and if she gets anywhere near low HP, just drops down, gets healed. She's incredibly safe compared to a Black Panther. The amount that he has to do compared to her, it's insane. Yes, Thor is an incredibly good character, but listen to what I'm saying. The amount of value you get out of this character in comparison to a character like Emma Frost, just by locking her in, you grant enormous value for your team. But enough about where Thor stands though. I'm extremely comfortable getting to top 500 with Thor consistently, and I plan to fly to one above wall with Thor again, solo queue and duo queue. Either way, I'm gonna do it myself. I'm always gonna prove that no matter what, you can get to the highest rank by playing a certain character. You just gotta figure out the certain gimmicks you're gonna have to work with this season. And right now, it seems like you have to be more of a brawler with Thor. Use hammer throw more, don't go into awakening as much, try to avoid getting caught out from Groot walls, Emma Frost grab, burn cooldowns for your team, and just don't die. But let's go on to the buffs now, boys. Come on, let's get cooking. So we're gonna break this up into two sections: basic ability buffs and then ultimate buffs. All right, so with the basic ability buffs, this one honestly was the most fun for me to think about, ponder on. I genuinely don't think Thor needs any super crazy buffs like one shot to his ultimate or CC with a slow or a knockdown. Those buffs will be discussed, but I really enjoy the uncomfortable situations that Thor forces enemies into, and I really think with a little bit more agency in Thor's kit, he can be broken in a Spider-Man way, whereas mobility and disruption can be more than just a gimmick. So first, I want to see a buff to Storm Surge against flyers. I just feel like there should be a lot more going on whenever you knock somebody out of the sky. I don't think it should be some Hulk interaction where you just pull the enemy out of the sky completely and CC them once they hit the ground, but potentially make them drop down slightly like Invisible Woman whenever she lands her E ability, that little force field move. But honestly, Thor does have a really unique way of handling flyers right now. Usually what works for me is Storm Surging into the enemy. If you hit them, it's a big amount of damage. Then you hit the primary attack on them, plus lightning realm, and the second the flyer flies out of your lightning realm, they'll be slowed plus take damage, and that'll leave you with enough Thor force to pop your awakening, which hopefully you can get the kill at the end. Just a little bit of disruption for the enemies to deal with whenever you hit them, because sometimes hitting them higher in the sky, it helps them out a little bit, you know what I mean? The next Storm Surge buff that I was looking for would be something similar to Emma Frost, how if she kicks enemies into the wall, they get CC'd a little bit, plus take an extra bit of damage. This buff has been on my mind since like season 0 before Thor even came out, in beta basically. I saw this ability sort of like Poppy from League of Legends, how if you slam an enemy into the wall, maybe it'll get like a little bit of a stun, but obviously the Storm Surge cooldown is only 2 seconds, so it would just be insanely toxic to just launch somebody into the wall over and over and over again. I get that. I just find the interaction of slamming somebody into the wall and having you phase through them to be pretty toxic, and when you push them just far enough, it would just poop pop right through you. It's pretty annoying, but having some sort of interaction, not even a stun, just like a little knockback effect where they just get CC'd for 0.25 seconds, just like discombobulated, I guess. Nothing huge, just give it some sort of effect. And if it became too toxic where somebody was just slamming you against the wall over and over and over again, then you could just make it so somebody couldn't get CC'd for a certain amount of time from that ability if it was becoming that toxic, but I genuinely don't see how that could be a big problem. It would just be sort of annoying. Oh, you're playing against Groot, you slam him into the wall, he just gets discombobulated for a little bit. It's the same thing as Emma Frost, except you just don't take damage. I don't think many players find the little bit of CC that Emma Frost puts you through whenever she kicks you against the wall annoying compared to her dumbass choke slam that lasts like a second and a half. So adding that move to Storm Surge, could be kind of hype. Lastly, with Storm Surge, I want to see if you could hit multiple enemies, sort of like how Bucky does. It feels pretty toxic when as Thor you go in to burn an ultimate from a Luna Snow or a Mantis or a Cloak and Dagger, whoever, and you go up and Storm Surge in and 2 enemies were in front of you. You get up in the whole entire enemy team, you're just in the backline now, and you try and Storm Surge away, but there's 2 enemies in front of you and you just kind of stop right there and now you're screwed. I think a cool buff to him would just be, in this case, if he hits multiple enemies, they'll still theoretically move on top of him because he'll be pushing the enemies forward and both of them will be, I mean, in front of Thor's face, right? They'll just be in front of him. So he'd still be pretty disadvantaged. The enemies could still hit him. I just feel like it would make his mobility less clunky to where he doesn't just stop in place and he's actually able to overpower these enemies, but I don't know if it'd be too broken because you could just push enemies all the way in. You get multiple pushes in. I don't know. I could see a world where he'd be pushing in a Groot and if an enemy was walking in front of you, you'd like scoop the enemy up and then 2 guys get pushed in. That'd be kind of sick. Either way, it's just fucking annoying whenever a Bucky Barnes hits 2 guys backwards and Thor just stops in mid-place. That's just toxic, bro. Feels bad. But apart from Storm Surge though, I feel like the next big buff to Thor would be Lightning Realm. Lightning Realm period should not be 12 seconds. It's one of those abilities where I guarantee if they lowered the cooldown on the patch notes, not a single soul would even glance an eye. Thor Lightning Realm 12 to 8 seconds. Who the fuck asked? No one would care at all, and I don't even think anyone even knows what Lightning Realm is, but we would. The Thor Nation would know. Because that buff would be awesome, bruh. It would practically allow Thor to always be in awakening status on defense off cooldown, as long as you are cycling your cooldowns properly, that is. I like the cooldown buff a lot. I really hope it goes through if they do go through with any buffs for Thor. That move period should be reduced to at least 10 seconds like Hulk's bubble. There's absolutely no reason that Hulk's bubble should be 10 seconds and Lightning Realm is 12. That is just diabolical. If not 8 seconds, make it 10, bro, please. That is just rancid. Another very strong Lightning Realm buff that I saw was making it a Winston shield, essentially just the slow still activates on the enemies whenever they jump out, but it would be some big shield you could put yourself into to protect yourself just in case you're getting shot at, to hopefully replenish some Thor force, so maybe you can get out, get a medikit faster, play more patiently. Maybe you like jump in on Hela, knock her backwards, hit the Lightning Realm, she jumps away, and instead of being able to fight you back now, she just has to run away completely because, you know, you have a big bubble on you. Or you could just use it in front of your teammates, you know, you're taking a bunch of damage, just engage with the Lightning Realm, like Adam Warlock Soulbound, you know, I'm Lightning Realming in, boys, and start walking up. I don't know. It's a very unique change that I've seen a couple guys talk about, but whenever I bring it up to my stream, they always start some pretty long talk in the chat. So like I said, the unique random buffs to Thor I feel like are the coolest ones, and they get the community talking about what could be. That's really cool to see. Now for the hammer throw buffs, it's a move that for some reason Thor mains on YouTube, they like to spew diarrhea out of their mouth and just horse shit about how they shouldn't be using hammer throw. No, bro, if you're not using hammer throw, you gotta start, bro. The move's good. But in my opinion, I just feel like they have to give it more of an identity, potentially give it % health damage, potentially give it an execute, make it do more damage from further away. Whatever buff they want to give to it, I just feel like they have to give the ability more of an identity. I've heard a lot of talk about making the ability a separate cooldown potentially, like 1 second, but I don't like the idea of changing Thor's foundation. I think it's fine at 2 seconds, just make the ability do more. Moving on now to Awakening. The biggest buff I always hear to Awakening is making it cancelable, like Reed's Big Man mode or Emma's Diamond form. Personally, whenever I hear this buff, I always get really skeptical. Yo, but what about Thor's main identity? What about about the Thor awakening identity. But in all seriousness, though, whenever I hear this buff, I do think it's fucking awesome. I can't even lie. Like, there's a lot of good reasons to want this buff to go in. Overall, it would just be fun as hell. It would make Thor kick ass. He could pick and choose his battles way more effectively, way more efficiently. He could just get in and get out. But then you gotta think about it, though. Afterwards, if you cancel your awakening too early, what could happen is you don't have any Storm Surge to go on. Why it feels really smooth right now is because after your awakening, you have your Storm Surge available to just immediately go. But then theoretically, you could have your awakening popped, then you could just cancel it, then go up to somebody, whack them on the head. I could see a lot of combos where you go in, pop awakening, throw 3 shots, cancel it, primary attack, hammer throw immediately afterwards. That would be fucking crazy. Overall, I think a lot of players would start playing Thor if you got his awakening cancelable, but I think that's one of the main reasons why Thor is Thor. He has a really funky kit that just is completely different from all the other characters in the game. Another buff to awakening I saw was if he got eliminations, it would regen full Thor force, basically allowing you to enter your awakening mode immediately after again if you wanted to. Honestly, a pretty cool sounding buff. It sounds kind of interesting to be able to go from one to the other, especially if you get in there, assassinate a support, then you can go for like a tank afterwards. And I feel like when a lot of people think of Thor, they think of like some big snowball character who goes in and keeps the pressure up over and over and over again, because I mean, he's melee, he has to do that, he has to keep the pressure up. It does sound kind of broken, especially because it wouldn't extend your awakening too, it would give you the option to extend your awakening. That's the cool part about it too. Having a mode where it extends your awakening, kind of scary, but giving you the option, yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, those are the buffs for the basic abilities. By far, this is going to be the largest section out of the two. All the ultimate buffs I have in mind are pretty funny. They're all kind of troll. I don't really think Thor needs a big ultimate buff, to be honest. I just feel like the other characters need ultimate nerfs. Just make it so their ultimates have to be damage boosted like Thor or Venom. You know, make it actually skillful. But with that being said, I still do feel like the ultimate can be extremely hard to land sometimes, especially if you're not using your lightning realm. One of the biggest problems about it is it's very, very, very predictable. And the main problem for it being so easy to dodge is because it's so predictable. Characters like Loki, Strange, Cloak, Mag, anyone with a shield, there's no prediction in Thor's ultimate like Magneto. It's completely timed out. Thor basically lets you know with the sound cues when he's coming down. Behold, the god of thunder. I don't know what Thor's yapping about the entire time, but he's letting the entire team know when he's crashing down. So Loki players will save their runes to last second, or mag shield to last second, or mag bubble, or whatever the hell they have to use to protect themselves. Whereas a mag can throw a Kobe whenever he wants, same as a Venom Chomp or a Thing ultimate, and Emma ultimates just kind of aids. But honestly, Doctor Strange is the one character where I feel like he gets massive amounts of aids like Thor does. Bro gets booped around by more characters. It just looks actually hard to play Strange. It looks terrible. But potentially, I don't know, allowing Thor to drop down on command or just let him stay in the air a little bit longer so he can drop down a little bit later, that'd be cool beans. A really weird attribute about Thor's ultimate is that he has a height range and it's in a sphere, so I was realizing that my ultimate just doesn't hit the enemy at all on the ground. I have to be a certain distance towards the ground to be able to hit them, and I can't be like an aerial nuke in the sky. It's kind of messed up because Thor's ultimate doesn't do enough damage to kill anybody without that extra tick damage, so yeah, I don't know whether that's the thing. But anyways, another banger buff would just be turning him into Doomfist. You just turn yourself into a big lightning bolt, fly into the sky. You can drop yourself on command, go further, go whoever you want. That'll probably never happen, but hey, still kind of cool. And then the other one that might happen, but I don't know, we'll have to see, is taking it in the Orisa direction where his ultimate can go through shields. That would force everyone to spread out the entire time and they can't just sit on the payload. I feel like it'd be pretty easy to counter as well too. People would just start walking out of it the entire time. The biggest reasoning for it would just be giving the team an actual reason to like get away from your ultimate, not just hide behind a dumbass shield. Just give it some more impact while not actually having a lot of impact. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Those are the big changes I saw to his ultimate because I really don't feel like having like a slow on his ultimate. The other very generic buffs to it is giving his ultimate a slow. I do feel like if you're not using Thor's ultimate with Lightning Realm, then you're kind of trolling yourself. The best way to land Thor ultimate is always having your Lightning Realm available and just Storm Surge into an enemy, Lightning Realm on top of them, and then ultimate them. So if they walk out of the Lightning Realm, they're slowed. Against Luna Snow, you absolutely have to do this no matter what. Otherwise, you can just run out of your ultimate. I personally feel like it'd be really toxic to give Thor a slow in his ultimate, but hey, that could be a possibility as well. Just give it more agency. And then a pretty funny buff was also like knocking down opponents whenever Thor hit the ground. It's just like, that would never happen. It's just too toxic. It would just be really, really annoying for the enemies, and people really don't like CC in these type of games. They don't like being knocked down, stunned, slowed. A lot of the moves that are slows or stuns or whatever the hell are on supports, and they're like skill shots, so keep it that way. It's fine. Knockups are like the only ones that people don't find that toxic. Those are my buffs for Thor. I don't feel like this character needs anything too special, but if you got the unique niche buffs, it'd be kind of fun. Sorry for the lack of streams this week, boys. boys, I got hit with the internet problems the entire time. If you're here the last couple streams, you probably saw that I was having bad internet issues and I had to stop my YouTube streams a couple times, and it just kind of scattered over when I was trying to get my internet replaced. Took a lot longer than expected, but we're here now. I'll be back live Monday through Thursday for 10 hours. Join me at about 1 p.m. EST, 12 o'clock CST. So yeah, be there, be square. If you can't, catch the VODs, and yeah, support the Twitch boys. Trying to go for 75 viewers concurrently on all my streams so we can get partnered, get way more HD content out for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace, 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 boys. Good luck on the climb.
2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I like good pussy and I like good trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe, and I get more